That is one of my favorite movies. And oddly enough, the subject we're going to talk about today fits kind of with that. So I could have shown the whole movie, could have debriefed, and things like that, but I just encourage you to go watch it. But how often do we, as married couples, get in a rut? You know, they, as you noticed, every week carved out time for a date night. They had a babysitter come over to their house to watch their kids so that they could block out time to be together. And yet it became so routine that it wasn't fulfilling its purpose. They ordered the same food, sat probably at the same table, had the same waiter, and it just became a routine. And oftentimes in our married lives, we fall into a rut. We fall into a routine. And our relationship becomes more about what needs to be done, what needs to be accomplished, than a vibrant relationship that we're cultivating with our spouse. And so this morning we're going to be talking about another area of our married lives. And so if you look at the boxes, I don't know if, I've been over next door for the last couple of weeks. Pretty cool boxes. You know, the arrow is talking about seeking God. The one above that was fighting fair. And each week we're trying to build on a component of our married relationships with our spouses. And so this week, as has been my custom as I get ready to preach, I kind of go to Facebook to find out what people are thinking. And so when I asked, what is your most memorable date? What was your most memorable date? It was fun to see people kind of respond. And that sometimes it was going extreme distances to attend different events. Sometimes it was, just spending time together. Sometimes it was actually the wedding day or the proposal before the wedding. Because usually proposals happen before the wedding. Because if you do it the other way, she might be really surprised. But either way, people responded and remembered. Someone actually posted a photo of their first date. When I was thinking about our first date, my wife and I, one of the funny things was I asked her out on April 1st. It was not a joke, but we went out, and as college students, I did have a job, but usually you did things around campus, and so you might go and do something here for a couple bucks, you might do here for a couple bucks, but we went out, and our first date was like $30. And I was just like, man, I can't do this. $30 for a college student was like, back then, was a lot. And so we went on a double date we both had mutual friends that were, I think they were dating, but they weren't yet married. But we went out, we went to this nice restaurant, nice for college kids, it wasn't McDonald's.
I was just thinking.
You can order the Happy Meal. And then we went to the mall and played these kind of cool games. They kind of helped us out because, we knew each other, but we didn't really, know each other. And so it was fun. But then, because I like to keep track of things, we had 6 other dates before the end of the school year, and I think combined, those 6 dates cost me about $10. And so I was like, okay, balanced out a little bit. If you go 7 days divided by 40, it was better. So we're talking about having fun this week. And that's what the smiling face is. Have fun. And so I just want to rewind a little bit. Because I know in a crowd this size, there are some here that are single. The teens, whoop, whoop. And some others, but they're not married yet. No, you're not married yet. Okay. I was told I have to call out my son a certain amount of times today, so. But this morning, why do they need to pay attention? Should they just get on their iPods and their phones and just kind of play some Flappy Bird? No. They need to pay attention because one day they may be married. And these are things that you can file away in your head and go, oh yeah, Yeah. I don't know what you call Mr. Ray, guy, balding, whatever, dad. He was saying some cool things. Maybe you're here this morning and you're divorced. And this is kind of like bringing up some old wounds. And I just want to say, we need to go to God. And these are things that are good for relationships in general. So whether it's a friend that you have that's a really close friend, it's great to seek God first in your friendship. It's great if there's a conflict that you talk it out with each other. And it's great, to spend time together and have fun. Maybe you're married to an unbeliever, and there are scripture passages that talk about, how you as a spouse need to respond to that unbelieving spouse. But I was reminded this week by my lovely wife that the Bible talks about, as Christians, we're supposed to be known by our love. John 13:35 says this: "By this all men will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." And so, what better way to show the world what God's love is like than to show it in your marriage? To love each other so much and so radically that people on the outside look in and go, wow, that's different. Why do you do that? And people look and go, well, it's because of God. And oftentimes, when it's like that, when we're striving for that, when we're encouraging others to do that, there's less fires to put out. There's less problems to deal with so that we can actually do what God has called us to do, which is minister, to help the hurting and the broken, to go on mission trips around the world and share the gospel. But I think a lot of times the church today has to deal with the problem of marriages crumbling and falling apart. Now, as I said, today we're talking about having fun. And if a guy was just going to be up here talking about having fun, the message might only be 5 or 10 minutes. Because it would be geared towards guys, and we'd be thinking guy things and doing those things. And it doesn't really take a long time to talk about that. So I've asked my wife, my lovely wife, to come up, and we're going to kind of talk things out today. And so she's going to kind of come up and hopefully... Nice shirt. But we're going to kind of talk about
I was just going to say, for the record, I thought I was doing great on that first date. I did not even order dessert. I was trying to be very conscious of money, but it all worked out in the end, so. Now I get dessert all the time.
Yeah, that should be it's a law in our house. As we move forward, what I want to bring up, and so for those of you who are type A personalities, there are blanks to fill in. That if you're not having fun in your marriage, if you're not having fun, you could be done. If you're not having fun in your marriage, and we're going to talk about different things that encapsulates, but if you're not having fun in your marriage, if it's not fun, if it's just all business and saying, okay, we got to do this, you got to do that, you got to get the birthday present, you got to fix this, you could be heading down the road to being done. Because oftentimes, a divorce, when it happens, it's not something that just flips. Like one day you're happily married, galloping through the lilies, and then all of a sudden the next day, there's a divorce. There's steps that take that. Now, before I forget, because I got talking about one of my favorite movies, this is going to be a PG-13 sermon. Yes. So we need to, if you have any children in here, you might want to make sure they head over to the kids building. They're finishing up the Winter Olympics. It's really cool. Talking about being disciples of Christ. But we're going to be talking about some things for married people and adults here. So maybe you're sitting there saying, you know what, I don't have time for fun. I'm too busy. I got a job, got family, we're running around all this. Who has time for fun? Well, again, if you're not having fun, you could be done. we're going to look at 3 types of fun. And what we're going to do is we're going to start kind of farther out and move our way in. That's kind of how I thought it would be easy to remember. And my wife is going to interject. We're going to kind of try this. We talked about this. And this is the first dry run here. So, if you want to stay for the second service, there's not a second service. First of all, we're going to talk about side-to-side fun. Side-to-side fun. What I mean by that is that this is time where you just are with your spouse, together time, where you're doing something with your spouse and you're there together. There's other things we're going to talk about when you're actually talking about emotions and things like that, things that guys love. But this is side-to-side fun. If you got your Bibles, turn over to Ecclesiastes chapter 9. If not, it'll flash up there on the screen here. But Ecclesiastes chapter 9 says this, verse 9. Enjoy life with your wife, whom you love, all the days of this meaningless life that God has given you under the sun. All your meaningless days. For this is your lot in life, and in your toilsome labor under the sun. Now you might say that doesn't sound very happy. But Solomon was talking about meaningless of life in Ecclesiastes, and he goes through and he lists all these things that you think, man, if I get rich, and he says, nope, chops that down. That's meaningless. If I enjoy pleasure and drink and do all that stuff, chops that down, and that's meaningless. And so he says, enjoy life with your wife during your time here on earth. It's going to seem meaningless that you're just going through the motions. But what better way to go through the motions than with your wife and enjoy it? And oftentimes in our lives, we just get so busy. There's work, and there's kids, and there's church, and then there's family functions that you have to attend, that we neglect spending that quality time with our spouse. And we just view that relationship, we view this relationship as a business partnership. Okay, you do this, and you do this, and you do this, and then I'll do this, and I'll do this, and I'll do this. And it's just kind of a business relationship instead of a vibrant, growing, trying to put in time to make it important type of relationship. Flashback to when you first were dating. I talked about our first date. Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy dating when you first got together? Or was it, oh man, this guy's calling me again? Oh man, he's proposed? Whew, I don't know if I really want to marry him. He's so boring. No. When you think about your dating life, it was exciting. You laughed. When was the last time you laughed as a couple? With each other. Not at each other. We talked about that. And we're at this stage kind of in our family. I was telling her, sometimes it's just, you have to laugh. And it's not because of what the other person is doing. It's because of life. And if you don't laugh, it's going to be, you're going to pull your hair out. And for me, what there is no laugh. You had so much in common when you were dating. Oh man, we have this in common, we have this in common, we have this in common. And sometimes I think as we go on in marriage, we go, we have nothing in common. Did you change? Or do you still have those things that you first loved spending time with? But what happens when we get married? We get on the hamster wheel. We get going, we get going, we get going. We have kids. And one of the things I was thinking about with our most memorable dates is they didn't have kids in it. No offense, guys. He's always the only one in here today. But thinking about, our first date, thinking about travels we did. Now, there was a recent time that we had thought about that we had a good time. It was without kids, but it was time where it was just us. And so think back to those times when you spent time together and had those fun times and go, you know what, maybe we need to do that. Maybe we need to go back to those times where we had those things in common. Now, this is just a quick commercial here for guys. I want to bring this up because I know that they know this. But I want to let them know this. Oftentimes, guys, we like and enjoy the hunt. Now, I'm not a hunter. I don't like to get up early in the morning, sit in a tree, and wait for something to come by. I like to go to the grocery store where it's already there. But there's something to be said, guys, for the pursuit of something that is elusive. And so there's like a thrill, there's an excitement there of the pursuit of going after something. And I think sometimes we viewed our relationship with our future wife and our wife as that we enjoyed the thrill of the pursuit. We enjoyed going after her. We enjoyed, trying to woo her. And yet, once we got her, that was it. We got the trophy, put it up on the mantle, move on. What's the next thing we can go at? What's the next thing we can go after? Where's the next pursuit? And guys, we need to put the brakes on that. There's not another pursuit for us. She is the pursuit. We need to keep going after her because, I hate to break it to you, but women are complex. Guys, not so much. Women are complex. And there's always things that you can be learning and growing together with as you grow together in Christ. And men crave this. Men crave side-to-side time. And so when we want to do something activity-wise, ladies, come along. It might not be, something that you really like, but spending that time together is what's important. It's what bonds you together. Now, ladies, I'm going to tell you a secret, if you don't already know this. This is, I even have it in the bulletin there in the program, so you can write it down. 2 times when men are most likely to open up. If you really want to reach out and you want to get to know your husband, your man, here are the 2 times. When he's doing something he enjoys. If he enjoys hunting, they have to go hunting. If he enjoys bowling, you may have to go bowling. Whatever it is, when he's doing something he enjoys, or right after he's done something he enjoys. Goes out and plays paintball, man, great paintball game, come down, you may be ready to open up. Shopping, some guys might like shopping, but it might not be something he enjoys. So that's something where he comes with you for the side-to-side time, but he may not be willing to open up. When we were first dating and married, she joined me in activities like sports. My wife was not into sports a lot growing up. She liked football to watch on TV. That was about it. But she enjoyed getting into sports. We played tennis together when we first were married. She has cultivated a like somewhat of watching sports. It depends on the sport and how often we watch it. As March Madness comes up, we kind of reach the level there. But she's enjoyed, she has spent the time side to side with me watching sports. Watching action movies. I mean, I'm sure there's some ladies that like to watch action movies, but she would indulge me and watch an action movie. And then in turn, in order to be with her, I would watch chick flicks.
Date night.
Date night, kind of like a chick flick. It's kind of fun. But I would enter her world as far as music goes. She was very musically oriented. So one of our dates, we went to this drum and bugle corps national championships. And not that I really enjoyed that, but it was a time where we could spend side to side. Shopping, again, for no purpose. Just to go shopping. We had some times when we first were married, we were on vacation, and she just wanted to go look at stores. I'm like, why? You're not going to buy anything? No. Okay, I'll just come along, Also, husbands, you go shopping with them, you can kind of say, well, you don't really need to buy this right now. If they go by themselves, then They could be buying a whole bunch of stuff. So maybe you're stuck and you're not having fun. You know, come up with a time where you can get together. Have a date night. I copied off some things. You can just kind of point down there. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't want to put them in the bulletin for everybody, but if you're struggling or if you want some ideas about a date night, there's actually a ministry called Married People Date Night. It's pretty cool. And so that's like a sample of what you can do. Now, you know, we talked about we might not do everything that it says, but it's a springboard to get you going. And maybe you say, oh, I got young kids, you know, I don't know what to do. Stick in a Dora video or an episode of something. That's 30 minutes with commercials. That should be plenty of time to do what that does. Or get babysitter. Go out. Enjoy life together. Now, we talked about side to side. Now we're going to move on to face-to-face fun.
All right, my turn. Woo-hoo. Okay. One of the things I was going to say, just to kind of wrap up what he said, first of all, my version, just to clarify, my version does not say that it is your lot in life. It says it's your reward in life, which I like that word much better. But anyway, so when we have side-by-side fun, sometimes we plan it. Sometimes we have to carve out the schedule and say, we're going to do this, we're going to go here, we're going to whatever. And sometimes there's not really a plan. When he asked me about memorable dates, one of my most memorable was just a few years ago. The first thing you have to know about me is that I have a lousy memory. So anything from like past 7 or 8 years ago, I probably don't remember anyway. But just a few years ago, we were driving back from Cincinnati, and we had dropped the kids off with my parents. And they had gone back to New York and we had come south. And we just decided that we were going to take a couple of days and drive back slowly and just stop places. And one of the things that we like to do together is go out to eat, obviously. And so we were able to do that. We went to Nashville, we went to Knoxville. We just stopped at a few places, didn't really have a plan, did some of that shopping with no purpose stuff, which I love. And it was great, and it was fun. It didn't have to be something that was scheduled or planned. You may have to do that, you may have to schedule and plan something, but sometimes just doing something together that one person could have done, one person could have dropped off the kids, but going together and taking that time can make a big difference. Okay, so face-to-face time. This is a little bit different because this is more, instead of talking about like social times together, which are important, it's important to have fun in those settings, but this is more talking about like an emotional intimacy with each other. Time to get to know each other better, deeper, have a relationship that's stronger because you are connecting with one another face to face. And I remember when we were dating, and maybe you have found this if you can remember back that far. I do remember this a little bit. I was in New York and Ray was in Ohio, and we would have long phone conversations. And if you remember back then, before these, they were attached to the walls. I know it blows your mind, but the phones were actually attached to the walls. And they had cords. And in my kitchen, and I lived with my parents for a year after college, and in my kitchen, it was one of those, the very long, springy cord, right? It was like a thin, rubberized slinky, kind of. Yeah, just to try to give you a picture. And so I'm a pacer. In fact, if this had been up on the stage, I'd probably be pacing now, but I will fall if I do that, so I'll try not to pace. But I'm a pacer, so I'm on the phone, and you know, you walk back and forth, and you pace back and forth if you're a pacer like I am. And I would inevitably get the cord wound all around me and have to kind of untangle myself. But I remember we would talk for hours. And I guess I'm glad that I lived in that age because I stink at texting. So it would be hard for me to text for hours. My thumbs would be very sore. But so I would go on the steps, the basement steps, and sit, and we would just talk for the longest time. And when we would think we would run out of stuff, we would just kind of sit there for a few minutes, and then something else would come up, and we would start talking again. And it's kind of that time when you're getting to know each other, and you're finding out more about each other. And then, you know, somewhere along the way, some of that slips away, and you kind of figure, we know enough, right? But you know what? I know women out there, we have a lot more going on that we husbands to know about, that we would like them to find out about and to understand about us. And we would appreciate being known even better. And guys, you may, hang on, 5 more.
I planned that.
And guys, you may not think that there's anything more to you that your wife does not know. I don't know, but you may think there's not anything deeper. But I guarantee if you let her, your wife will find something. It may even be something you did not know was there. But it's true. If you open up and start talking about things, there will be things there that you will learn even after, I mean, we've been married 20 years, and hopefully we can say the same thing in another 20 years, but you learn more about each other when you spend time face to face. So the problem is that takes time. And if you go to Song of Solomon, this is actually the one that is in your notes, Song of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 11. And there are a ton of examples in the book of Song of Solomon, but this is just one of them. It says, "Come, my beloved, let us go out into the country, let us spend the night in the villages." And it's just talking about taking time to be with each other, not only side by side, but also face to face, taking time to get to know each other better and better, even if you've been married for a long time. And this does take, it takes some effort sometimes. I think one of the things that I appreciate doing, and I'm kind of a practical girl, so I'm going to try to give you some practical stuff, take it or leave it, but these are the things that I appreciate. I like taking walks, and Ray is not a big fan of walks. He kind of figures that exercise should have an end goal, and it should preferably happen on a court or a field, and it should have 2 sides and some sporting equipment involved, and a score and a winner and a loser. And if it doesn't have those things, it makes no sense. I didn't tell him I was going to say that, but so it makes no sense to him. So going for a walk when you actually have nowhere to go, just walk and then come back, is not really in his wheelhouse. And so, so we don't do it all the time, but I really appreciate it because I know he's not a big fan. I really appreciate it when we do take walks together. And that can be done with kids. The wonderful thing about walking with your kids is that you can find a field or a playground or something, and they can kind of go off and play, and you can have some face-to-face time. Walking is more than, to me, walking is more than just side to side, because you have an ability to talk with each other that you might not have if you're sitting at home and there's screens on around your house and chaos is happening and so forth. So that's something that we do that I think is a practical thing. Another thing is sometimes it's hard to know where to start. You kind of like that date night video where they're sitting there and they're like, okay, what do we talk about? We're not allowed to talk about the kids, and there's not. You can talk about your coworkers or how your day was, but it gets kind of old fast, and you end up talking about the weather or who's got to drive where or who's got to do what or whatever it happens to be. And one of the things that has helped us find a little bit deeper conversation is reading books together. Just before bed or whatever, read a chapter together and spend some time talking about the book, what we think. Do we agree? Do we disagree? Or just, a book that we enjoyed together and hanging out. Don't have to read. There's lots of things that are on, MP3 or whatever, that you can get on your phones or whatever and listen to something together. And it gives you a chance to go a little bit deeper, and it gives you something to talk about, a topic. It gives you something to kind of jumpstart something a little bit more than just hanging out. If you have no time, welcome to the club. Let me give you some practical suggestions. He already talked a little bit about, especially when you have kids, and about, going into the dining room or going into the bedroom and, sticking in a door and DVD or something like that gives you some time. A thing I had thought of is printing out a stop sign, putting it on the door of wherever, you're going to be, the dining room, the other room, whatever. And when the stop sign is up, teaching your kids that means that red in that stop sign is a reminder that unless there's blood, don't come in. I don't know. Okay, that's terrible because I'm the children's director. But you get the idea. The point is, unless it's serious, we're taking some time together. And you think, oh my goodness, what terrible parents you are. But you know what? One of the best things that you can teach your kids is to have a great relationship with their spouse, to have a great marriage. It's super important. And so when you have those boundaries, it's actually a really good thing. You know, I mean, you don't want to be in there 24 hours a day, but, you know, to have those times when your kids have to say, okay, this is, you know, mom and dad time, they get to connect, and we get to watch Dora or whatever. So those things are important. Also, you know, I mean, the teens are over here thinking, you know, we're more than happy to babysit if you'd like to have us babysit. But if you don't have wads of money to throw around, which they would appreciate if you do, but if you don't, babysitting swaps are great. The first step in a babysitting swap is to find someone whose kids you actually can stand, and then they can stand your kids. Okay, so once you have those two things done, you are home free, because all you really need to do is, you know, this Friday I watch your kids, and next Saturday you watch mine, and it doesn't cost you anything for babysitting if you do the swap thing. That saved us many times. So it's a very, very good thing. Just a little side note, we're talking about making time, and I just wanted to put a little plug in here for families who, because of working circumstances, particularly like military families, there's going to be times that it's not as easy as always. And one of the things that I find I am burdened by our military families, when a lot of people pray for the soldiers, which is a wonderful thing, I have a tendency to pray for their spouses. And when you think about the soldiers, make sure that you pray for their spouses as well, because it is unfathomably difficult to not even have those opportunities for so many months. So just a side note, I know that some of you are in that situation, and you know, God's grace can do amazing things. And I'm sure that there would be testimonies of couples who have gone through things like that would say God's grace sustained them while they were in the midst of all of that time apart. Just a little side note. Okay, so Song of Solomon 2. Stay in Song of Solomon for a little bit. I got two more little things to talk about. Little things. So, Song of Solomon chapter 2, verse 15. Sometimes Song of Solomon's a little weird. Have you noticed that? It's a little strange. Some of the verses I'm going to read today are a little strange, but bear with me. We're going to try to explain a little bit. Verse 15 says, of chapter 2 says, catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that are ruining the vineyards. Well, our vineyards are in blossom. Okay, that's one of those little strange times in Song of Solomon. But what it's talking about is watch out for things that are destroying your relationship. They can be little things. They can be seemingly innocent things. And one of the things that I believe fits under the category of little foxes is the things that rob us of our time together, that rob us of our face-to-face time, that rob us of our side-to-side time, that kind of sneak in and you don't realize it until sometimes it's too late, that they're robbing your time. Now, I'm going to make a statement here, most likely embarrass my son, and probably make a few of you very angry at me. So just give me some grace umbrella. Here's what it is. Facebook is like porn for middle-aged women. Let it sink in for just a second and I'll explain. Guys, I know there's a few of you that are still thinking about it. Guys, men often will substitute pornography for true intimacy with their spouses. And it's a huge issue. It's a huge issue in the church. And it's very dangerous. And we don't talk about the other side of that, which is that women often substitute online relationships with friends on Facebook and in chat rooms for true intimacy with their husbands. And it's something that we need to be careful of. And maybe it's not Facebook for you, maybe it's not chat rooms for you, maybe it's romantic books, romantic movies. Some of these things are not bad in and of themselves, some of them are bad in and of themselves. But some of them are not. I mean, we need women, we need friends of the same gender. We need to have times together. We need to encourage each other. But when that creeps in to your time with your husband, when that creeps into that time that you can have face-to-face, it's sharing things and building up that emotional intimacy, then that's one of those little foxes that can destroy your relationship. be careful. All of us need to be careful. We need to look at those things with eyes that are objective, with eyes that say, you know, is this robbing me of my time? So just something to think about as a little fox. Other thing is this. These phones that we have that go with us everywhere and are attached to us, I'm kind of bad because mine is currently dead. I forget to plug it in. But they're attached to us very often. And these phones are just tools. They can do great things. I mean, you can look up countless meaningless facts on these phones. You can take pictures of your babies and your grandbabies and take video, and you can do all kinds of great things on these phones. But they're tools, and tools can be used for good and they can be used for evil. And these phones, on these phones, we can commit adultery with these phones. We can spend so much time cultivating relationships with people of the opposite gender on these phones that it destroys our marriage. We can watch things and be on sites that we have no business being on these phones. We can be so connected to our jobs that we neglect our families, or so obsessed with video games and videos and movies or TV shows or whatever that we neglect our spouses. So don't let this become a little fox in our lives. Be very, very careful that you watch out for those little foxes, because you know what? A fox in a vineyard can destroy what you're trying to grow, what you're trying to cultivate, what you're trying to get fruit from. A fox can destroy it, and you might not even know. They just sneak in and sneak out, and boom, you're in trouble. And that's the way some of these things are in our lives. But how can we use it for good? I told you I was practical. A couple of things that you can use these for good. I know that we are taught, women, and I don't know, maybe this is sunk in, maybe it hasn't, but we're taught that we need to communicate our needs. We need to communicate what we like, what we don't like, things like that with our spouses. And today we're using a lot of generalizations. Women are like this, men are like this, and it's not always like that. You know, sometimes you may find yourself on the other side of things. A lot of times God will put people together, you know, that are different, a talker and a non-talker or whatever. You may be on the opposite side of the generalizations that we're talking about. Gee, I wonder which side I'm on. All right, so anyway, in general, when women say, these are the things I like, these are my needs, I would really like flowers. I'm not a huge flower fan, but let's say flowers. I'd really like flowers. If you come home the very next day with flowers, she might not be very happy about that. Because you see, if you just did it because she told you to, it doesn't count. I don't know if you knew that, but there it is right there. It doesn't really count. So your phones are a great way to remind you when you really want to remember, but you're probably not going to remember on your own. Put it in your phone, and then a few days later, bring them when, you know, it's your idea. It works much better.
Just real quick. we did talk about this. Ladies, you need to cut your guys some slack. Because if they bring flowers the next day, it was Amazon drone. If you get flowers the next day, ladies go, well, it's because I told you so. But then if you wait a couple days, they get upset because they go, why didn't you bring them? I told you I like. So whatever happens with the gifts, compliments, whatever, you need to realize we're still learning.
We've been married 20 years.
So cut us some slack and give us a pat on the back for trying.
Yeah, very good. It's in here. I'm going to talk about that. All right, so set up reminders. This is a great place to put in, I'm sure there's an app for that, where you can put in what your spouse needs. You know, maybe they mentioned that their kitchen towels are getting all ratty and they need new kitchen towels. And, but along with that, girls, like he talked about, when they bring home the kitchen towels that are the wrong color, that's all right. It's all good. You have to be very excited anyway. It's okay. It's all right. Blue. So anyway, these are good things to put in your phone. Or, things that they like. They're going through the store shopping for no apparent reason, and they happen to say, I love my turquoise necklace, but I have no earrings that match them. Just put that in your phone, because you might never know, and that might come in handy the next time you're thinking about getting a gift. All good things to use your company. Love notes. Sending love notes to each other. That's a great thing. You can send that, and it's free. Woohoo, bonus. You can look up, get online on your phone or at home or whatever, look up cheap romantic dates that you can have with your spouse. And maybe even dates that don't end at Walmart, like ours often do. So anyway, the point is, look out for those boxes and use those tools for good things and not for bad things. Last verse I want to talk about is Song of Solomon chapter 7, and I am not going to read all of this, and you can go ahead and read it silently and you will understand. I am going to read the first part of verse 1, and then I'm going to skip on down to verse 4. The first part of verse 1 says, How beautiful are your feet in sandals, O prince's daughter. And then skip on down to verse 4. This is again one of those times when you shake your head, a Song of Solomon. It says, Your neck is like a tower of ivory, your eyes like the pools in Heshbon by the gate of Bathrabim. Your nose is like the tower of Lebanon, which faces toward Damascus. Your head crowns you like Carmel, and the flowing locks of your head are like purple threads. The king is captivated by your tresses. How beautiful and how delightful you are, my love, with all of your charms. And this is all the way through Song of Solomon. And it's not just the husband to his wife. There are many times where it's the wife to her husband, and they talk about all these things. And they talk about all their different body parts and so forth. And the point of the whole thing is that they are spending face-to-face time. And a lot of it, because they notice a lot of things about each other. And that's important, the time that we need to take before we give those compliments. And the reason is because compliments need to be three things. When you're giving a compliment, they need to be sincere. You might need to practice this. You might need to say to yourself, I'm going to give my spouse a compliment every day for the next month, or 2 months, or whatever it's going to be. And it's going to be something different, and it's going to be something true. That's important. Something sincere. I do this with the kids next door sometimes, and I'll say, say something nice about the person on your right, and it's pretty funny. They're like, I like your shirt, or you weren't as mean to me today as you usually are, things like that. But I'm hoping that by our age that we can improve upon that just a little bit at least. So be sincere. The second one is be specific. You can talk about looks like they do a lot of times in Song of Solomon, and be specific about that, but you can also be specific about actions. Saying thank you. This is the time, like what he was talking about, when you give that pat on the back. When you say, thank you so much for helping me with that. That's huge. It really means a lot. Meant a lot to me that you helped me with that. My pet peeve is loading the dishwasher. And so I often will leave the room when he loads the dishwasher because it just works better. And then I don't rearrange anything. It's all good. And I have to really be thankful for that because I want him to do it again. So if you want him to do it more than once, be thankful. Be very thankful. So be sincere, be specific, and be sweet. No strings attached. Sometimes we have expectations that come with compliments, requirements, or expectations. Guys, don't assume that these compliments are automatically going to lead to extracurricular activities in the bedroom. And women, don't assume that these compliments will automatically lead to extra chores around the house. So don't have strings attached or you will be disappointed some of the time at least. And then the last thing that I want to talk about before I pass it back over is receiving compliments. And then this is specifically for women. I just know more about women, so I know that it's hard for us to accept compliments sometimes. We don't see ourselves the way our husbands see us, and it's hard to reconcile that in our lives. We tend to focus on the negative about ourselves. And my encouragement to all of us today, me included, is to not disagree when our husbands give us a compliment. I know that sounds a little strange. Why would we disagree? But you know what? I do it all the time. No, I'm really not that pretty. Or, no, I really wish I looked that good in this. Or whatever it happens to be, okay? Make sure that you are not putting ideas in his head that are not there. He doesn't see you that way. So don't even give him that idea. Accept the compliment and be able to move on and to be thankful that he does see you that way. And don't ask him if you're